Wait, start recording. Okay. Jesus Christ, it's this is gonna be such a long video. Fuck. I just looked. I was in the creator menu. I started recording and look, and Jesus Christ, there's like 30. Hang on. Hello again. Welcome back to Overexplaining yet again. Today we're on tier 5. Uh, this is gonna be like a really long video. Here's just like a small video of me just holding right and showing all of the suits off. There's a lot. There's 17 actual suits and a lot of alts. This is the category with the most suits in it. I'm very happy for it because I just have to do it this once. Technically twice, but yeah. So to begin, first I didn't set up the fabricator. Hang on. So first, let's start off with Captain America Sam Wilson. All tier 5s have 91.2% damage reduction. He has 6 punch damage, 3.5 weapon damage, 40% impact damage, 1 jump height, 5 fall resistance, and 20% sprint speed. And the shield throwing and Wakandan flight pack ability, with the shield throw being shared with Captain America Steve Rogers, who will be covered in the tier 6 video. He also comes with the Captain America shield item. This item you can also combine with an electromagnet in an anvil. So if I just grab that, then it takes 30. Well, if I didn't have the electromagnetic version, it takes 30 levels to add it. And the electromagnet makes it so when you throw the shield, it always comes back to you. Otherwise, it has to actively bounce back or hit an enemy to come back. You can also still put this on your back despite it not being the same shield as it comes with, but it's just because it gets NBT data. It's not actually a different item ID. Firstly, the shield throw. The equation for the shield throw ability is calculating the equation damage, which is your weapon damage, plus the shield damage of 6. So for Cap Sam, it would deal 9.5 damage, times 1.5, times the minimum velocity, the minimum velocity with the one shown being the minimum, being the highest speed, with the velocity being calculated in the blocks per tick, and the 50% and the times 1.5 is so that it always deals more damage than just meleeing. Otherwise, it would be a bit weak. So if I melee, it does 10 damage, but if I shield throw, it deals 15. So it always deals at least a little more damage than if I were to melee. But as you probably saw, when you throw the shield, it has a small cooldown before you can throw again, making it so you can't always spam it out. Instead, you would have to melee in order to not have the issue of just constantly having a shield thrown out and dealing too much damage, or else that would be a little unbalanced. Also, the durability of the shield is used up when you shield throw. So, heal you, throw the shield, it does take durability. Even though I did not melee attack, it still is able to take that damage. As it's also a shield, it is able to block attacks from the front. So if he punches me in the front, it blocks. But if I look to the side, then just like with other shields, it doesn't block from the front. Why 360? It also has, like, I believe the most health out of any shield in base, except for maybe anti-monitors, but I think it does still have more than him. So it takes a lot of damage to have to knock down. But and hit me. And it also, I believe, takes durability to block, so you can't block forever. I feel like it should probably have more durability than a diamond tool, honestly, but considering it's vibranium, but yeah. So it is able to block from the front but not the sides. Also, so it is able to block all damage, but unlike most other shields, it slows you down when you move, whilst other shields usually let you move at the same speed as normal. Captain America's shield is also able to block fall damage, up to 89 blocks. So if I TP up 20 blocks, then if I block downwards, it actually blocks fall damage, which acts different than all other shields, as all other shields in base do not block fall damage. And as I said, it's able to block up to 89 blocks, so if I fall all 89 blocks, it still blocks all the damage. But once this refills, then if I fall 90 blocks, then I die. And it would disable the shield if I didn't live. If I didn't. Yeah. He also has the Wakandan Flight Pack ability, which allows him to fly, as I was showing with the shield throw. This acts the exact same as Falcon Flight, having the wings appear and having a sprint boost. Barrel rolling, tricks, and a ability boost to increase your flight even more. Although you cannot sprint, since you can't sprint while blocking with a cap shield, you can't really block while flying, but you can still shield throw. The shield throw is also able to break glass, allowing it to go straight through and continue to hurt enemies through it. You can also throw your shield while flying, allowing you to do cool things like this. That was a little messy, but it worked. So you can do some cool tricks with the shield throw and glass, allowing you to just get sneak attacks on enemies or get out of a certain situation you don't want to be in, or so on. Making a pretty decent escape tool, but obviously it's bit griefs, so sometimes servers have it disabled. To craft, he requires 33 Tetridium and needs the Defense 2, Flight, Group 2, Melee 2, Ranged 3, Vibranium, Captain America Steve Rogers, who again we'll cover next time, and Falcon, who we covered in the last video. Making him pretty expensive, but also he has a lot of abilities which are very strong. So, yeah. For the augments, he has damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and impact speed. So first fall resistance, then fall resistance and damage reduction, setting him to 92% damage reduction, then all, with him getting 2.667% damage reduction, 1 punch damage, 0.5 weapon damage, which, as explained in the formula for shield throws, stacks with the shield throw, making it deal even more damage. 0.5 jump height, 3/5 resist, and 50% impact speed. The 2 punch, he maxes his punch damage at 2. And for Dwarf Star, he gets 2.514%, 1.5 weapon damage, 1.5 jump height, 5 fall resistance, and 30% impact speed damage. with these stats making him pretty mobile and pretty damaging, but not the strongest suit, and Steve Rogers honestly has a lot more damage. But him having flight does give him a pretty big edge over Steve, but Steve also just has a lot more passives. The next suit to cover is Chronos. This was also one of the original suits added. It was actually one of the first videos to get a video recorded by Fisk on it. The other one being Barry Allen, which I'll explain why in his section. Chronos has 5.5 punch damage, 3 weapon damage, 0.5 jump height, and 3.5 fall resistance. And he has the Chronos rifle. This acts the same as the guns like Desert Eagles, Berettas, all that, where you aim with left click and fire with right click. With each shot being an explosion at the end, dealing very high damage, but having a somewhat slow fire rate. And also having that decently long travel time. You also can aim by shifting, which gives you this really cool HUD, which also shows the angle you're looking at, with the cardinal aim being on the first line, and then the vertical angle being on the second line, with 90 degrees up to -90, and the cardinal being from 0 to 180 in all directions, positive and negative. He also has a cape like Mysterio in them, except this one is pretty unique as it has this gap in it, which allows you to see under it. Which is a detail I really like in a lot of capes. Only a few capes in base have it, those being like Ruptures, this one's, and a few others. There's not many, but it's a detail I like. To craft him, he requires 19 Tritium and the Group 2 and Ranged 2 nodes, making him pretty cheap to make. And for augments, he has max damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and max health. He has none in iron, gets 3 in gold. Gets all but max health in gold titanium. Then gets max 1 max health. To maxing his weapon damage. And then maxing everything else at Dwarf Star. Giving him 11 full hearts. And setting him as, I believe, the 3rd highest health at base. Just making him a tiny bit more tanky. I heal. Just making him a little tankier, but nothing insane. Still very much a weaker character due to him not having many abilities, only really having this gun. The next suit to cover is Citizen Steel. This is his first suit with a transformation, with him having the Steel transformation ability. Also having 91.2 damage reduction. I don't need to point that out, but I did. Having 5.5 punch damage, 0.5 jump height, and 4 fall resistance. So, with the Steel transformation, he has the Toggle Steel ability, which changes the player's entire skin to the Steel mode. The transformation only lasts for around... The Steel transformation lasts for 30 seconds and recharges in around the same amount of time. But it also changes some extra stats, making your punch damage go from 5.5 to 9, your jump height from none to 1, making you able to jump 2 blocks. Your fire resistance from 4 to 5, and your sprint speed from none to 15%, making you just a little faster, a little higher damage, and a little more tanky, as it also sets your tier from 5 to 7, giving you just a lot more damage reduction. They also, when in this mode, have fire immunity, so they don't actually light on fire, and they have the metal skin ability. So if I grab a lava bucket, then the metal skin starts to empty. And when that empties, I start to take actual damage. Also, a property of metal skin is the skin usually lightens, with Citizen Steel only having the metal lightening, as the armor isn't actual metal, it's just his skin. So the actual armor around the metal doesn't actually change, it's only him that changes. Making it a very small detail that many people don't notice, because not many people tend to use Citizen Steel, but it's a nice detail to notice when you do. Oh. He also gets projectile immunity when in Steel mode, so he becomes immune to bullets, arrows, and other projectiles. So he is immune to bullets, but when not in Steel mode, he is able to be shot. So if he shoots me again while not in Steel mode, then I take damage. But when I enter Steel mode, I become fully immune. Except for ones that have the penetrating ability, which makes it so I take the bullet damage. And I am also immune to arrows. So when not in Steel mode, if he shoots me, I get hit. But when I enter Steel mode, then it instead bounces off of me. And if he's close enough, it can hit him. But if he just backs up, it doesn't. Although there is obviously some arrows that make it so I get hurt, such as explosive or the vibranium. But that doesn't make me immune to melee. So obviously if he just hits me with the bow or something, I'm still gonna take the damage. But I can deal a lot of damage to him. And to craft, Citizen Steel needs 26 Tetridium and needs the Defense 1, Group 2, Melee 1, and Regeneration 1 attributes to unlock. And for the augments, I should just cut these in my inventory, but he gets Defense 1, or Damage Reduction 1. I'm sorry, I can't talk, I should stop. He gets Damage Reduction, Punch Damage, Jump Height, Fall Resistance, Sprint Speed, and Knockback, which is one of the more unique ones, as it just increases the knockback of melee attacks. This is only gotten through augments in base, but it's a very unique attribute, honestly. I'm surprised no one really uses it in base. Just making it so that enemies take more knockback when you punch them, giving you more breathing room, with there only being one suit in base that gives knockback, with that being the next suit to show off of Crossbones. But first, these are his final stats, with the punch damage also, again, like with blades, stacking onto the steel mode. So from 9 damage, it now deals 11 with max augment. So it can just deal a lot of damage and also inflict a bit of knockback on hit, making him pretty strong in melee, but not having any range, making him a bit weak. Also not being the most mobile. But he's still mobile enough with the 35% sprint speed at max augment. The next suit to cover is Crossbones. He has 6 punch damage, 3 weapon damage, 0.5 jump height, 4 fall resistance, and 2 max health. He is the only suit in base that gives max health as an attribute by default. All others give it due to either augmenting or with the size change with the equation I showed in the last video. Causing him to have a little more health than others and having a bit more damage. With him having the charged punch, with the charged punch being a bit of a complicated ability, whereas when you activate the ability, it slows you down as it is not actually charged, with it changing your punch damage to 5.5, and being the only suit in base that actually attributes the base speed attribute, which, as you can tell, just changes how fast you walk by default, and also affects sprint speed. This is the only suit in base that does this, so it's a pretty unique thing. But when you have the charge punch active, if you crouch, then after roughly 0.15 seconds, the punch charges, changing it to deal 8.5 punch damage, 3 weapon. After I'm just changing the punch to deal 8.5 damage, and giving him 2.5 knockback, being, I believe, the most knockback of any suit in base, with no other suit having nearly that much, since every attribute level only gives 0.5, so they'd need all 5 levels to get to 5.5. So when I do a normal uncharged punch, it here in creative. So with a normal punch, it deals 7, and then 7 again. With a uncharged punch, firstly I'm a lot slower, but also it deals only 6, sometimes 7. But when I charge it, firstly, you may notice it does a lot of knockback, but it also does 9 damage, allowing it to just send your foes away if you need to heal, for example. And allowing you to just have a lot more leniency with how you do your attacks. But as you noticed, once you throw the charge punch, once you hit one charge punch, you need to charge it again. With it making it so you're not the most mobile suit, due to, if you want to spam click, you basically have to be shifting the entire time. Otherwise, it instantly uncharges and makes it so you have to rock at your foe again to do the attack. He also has the pain resistance ability, with it making it so he takes 50% damage from energy and fire damage. So slight correction in post while we were testing. It actually blocks electricity damage, not energy damage. It still blocks fire, but not electricity. Or not energy. My bad. Sorry about that. Anyway, that's a test. So the Manta Ray deals 3 damage a hit to Crossbones, and to a normal player it deals... I let go too soon. My bad. Deals 7. The punch deals 2. The flamethrower deals 3. And the fireball deals 2. Which deals 6. The flamethrower deals 5. And the fireball deals 6. The repulsor does 3 a hit to Crossbones, and it deals 7 to a normal player. So the lightning throw does 4 to Crossbones, and it deals 10 to a normal player. The lightning throw deals 4, and once again deals 10. To craft Crossbones, it takes 21 to tritium, and that's the wrong thing, but whatever. The defense 1, group 2, and melee 1 nodes. He also can augment damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and knockback. Fall resistance, punch damage, damage reduction. with the knockback stacking with the Charged Punch's knockback, allowing it to deal even more knockback, knocking them back, in this case, 3 extra blocks instead of just the 2.5 extra from the punch by default. Setting him at most of 3.5 blocks. With these being his final stats, making him a little bit mobile and a somewhat tanky, but also a bit slow at the same time due to the uncharged punch and all that. The next suit has the most ults out of any suit in base, so this is gonna take a little bit. Next up is Deadpool. He has 5 punch damage, 5 weapon damage, 1 jump height, 4.5 fall resistance, and 15% sprint speed. He also has a healing factor, which is an ability unique to him in base. He has 8 ults. 3, 4, 5, 7 ults. That's my bad. I can't count. 8 in total, including base, but don't count that. I'm just dumb. The only things he has on his own without the healing factor is katanas and the Desert Eagle. With the katanas just acting like any other dual weapon with right click swinging the left sword and left click swinging the right sword. With you being able to spam click and send players and apply knockback even when you miss by double clicking. They also appear on the back, making it so when you have them unequipped, you actually can't see them on the back, but you can still see the scabbard. But when you have them equipped in the equipment wheel, then you can see them. Just adding for a little extra detail on the suit. He also, just like Wild Dog and Kinda Falcon, has guns, so he can reload, aim, and fire, with all the same keys. With that being the only active key he has, being the reload. Other than that, he has no active keys. He also has the healing factor. The healing factor making it so after 4 seconds, once you're damaged, so if you attack me and deal some damage, you have to deal more than nothing. So if he, just put on a suit here. Come, put on Sam. Put on Sam, not a future suit. Put on Sam and just hit me with the shield, I guess. Shift. There you go. So if he deals actual damage to me, then after 4 seconds of not taking damage, I don't heal back up to full. So if I lower the damage reduction, can you wait for 2 seconds, please? So if I set this back to nothing and he hits me with 1 shield throw, just hit me 1. Then after 4 seconds of not taking damage, it instantly heals back to full. Also taking away the saturation it would normally require. And playing that neat little sound effect, which other players can also hear. And it makes it so, and due to the 4-second cooldown, it makes it so you can't just run away for like half a second and heal. Or stay in the fight and heal. Instead, you have to actively either keep them at bay, either keep your enemy at bay, or run from a fight in order to heal. Unlike someone with, like a speedster, who has such high regeneration at all times that they can heal even in the middle of a fight. They can heal to full. Meanwhile, Deadpool has to back out, but as soon as the healing factor pops, they can go right back in. And to craft him, he takes 34 tritium and requires the Group 2, Marksmanship due to him using guns, Melee 2, and Regeneration 2 nodes. He also takes. He can also augment his punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, sprint speed, and max health. He is also the only suit that is not a tier 10 that cannot augment his damage reduction. Every other suit is able to augment their damage reduction in base, except for the tier 10s and Deadpool. So other than those other 3 suits, he is the only suit that can't augment his damage reduction. So first he gets his fall resistance. Fall resistance is like the most common thing to augment besides punch damage. So be expecting that in the future a lot. Then jump height, then punch damage, and maxing his jump height, and getting 10% sprint speed for 25%. Then augmenting max health, and then maxing sprint speed, then fall resistance, then weapon damage, and punch damage. And lastly, maxing out his punch damage, weapon damage, fall resistance, and max health. Making him pretty tanky even without augmenting damage reduction. But due to him not augmenting damage reduction, he is one of the weaker suits. But the healing factor does make up for that, due to it not requiring food or anything else other than the time to heal. Meanwhile, other suits would require that food to heal. But even if he is at 0 hunger and starving to death, he can heal if he doesn't take damage. Although on harder difficulties, due to hunger killing you, that doesn't really work out. He also has a ton of ults, with them all having the same stats, but there is one thing that makes this a pain. These 5 ults all require an achievement. But first, showing these 2, he has the X-Force ult, which is just the gray suit he has in the X-Force section of the movie, of Deadpool 2, and the X-Trainee suit, when he was part of the X-Men in Deadpool 2 again. The next 5 suits are kind of meme ults, but also are the most painful ult achieve. So, some of them have the most painful achievements tied to them. Firstly, the Bob Ross ult. Firstly, it gives him this model on the top of his head for the hair. It also just gives him this coat, which I think looks pretty nice, but either way. To unlock this, you need the Fisk Dream achievement, which requires you to unlock every single suit in the mod in the Fabricator, which that achievement does also extend to hero packs, making this a lot easier to unlock if you don't have any hero packs, but a lot harder to if you do. The next suit is the Elvis suit. This one requires you to survive a fall with half a heart left, giving you the superhero landing achievement, meaning you have to fall, making it so you have to fall exactly 27 blocks in order to get the achievement. Or you can be on less health when you do the achievement, but you have to be wearing Deadpool, making it so you kind of have to actively be taking damage to get it through that second method. The next ult is the Emmy winner ult, with this needing you to have the Fisk Dream achievement again. This is also the most recent ult added to the mod, being added in the 2.3.2 version of the mod, being just one version behind as of recording this up as of recording. So that also may be outdated in the future, but Soul Series could be outdated in the future. Who knows? This mod is still being updated even this many years later. So, hey. The next ult is the Hugh Jackman ult. it basically just takes the base Deadpool and removes the mask, instead adding Deadpool's face underneath, which you can't really see due to the model in front, but it's there. And also adding, most obviously, the Hugh Jackman picture on his face as a joke as a reference to the joke at the end of Deadpool 1 when his girlfriend takes off his mask and it's just Hugh Jackman's face. Once again, this is also gotten through the Fisk Dream achievement, making it, again, hard to get in with hero packs, but easier without. Also making that be the achievement that gives you the most alts, which is absurd. And the final alt for Deadpool is the Russia alt. This requires you to have the Cure achievement, which requires you to have every single negative effect applied to you at once. This actually can't be gotten with Deadpool due to the healing factor giving you poison and wither immunity, which is something I forgot to mention, but Citizen Teal also has poison and wither immunity, but also I believe hunger at the same time, giving him a lot of immunities. But also species have the same amount of immunities, which I forgot to mention in the tier 3 and I forgot to mention in the tier 4 video. All species have immunity to poison, hunger, and wither, which I'll be going over again in 2 suits. As I mentioned before, this has gotten through the Cure achievement, which just requires you to have every single negative effect applied at once, making it a pretty difficult achievement to get, but there's more annoying ones. Like the Fisk Dream. Anyway, and that is all for Deadpool. He has the most alts of any suit in base. Even the second highest of Barry Allen and Steve Rogers do not have as many. They're at least one below, I believe. If I remember correctly. Oh, I'm lagging. Sorry. And the next suit to cover is Firestorm Jax Jackson. I really hate pronouncing that name. He has 6 punch damage, 0.5 jump height, 5.5 fall resistance, and 15% sprint speed. He has all the same attributes as Firestorm since they were some of the earliest suits added, so they are the only suit, as far as I remember, that have an external file that just gives them their abilities. As these are so outdated, they are from, like, their actual abilities, aside from controlled flight, are still like 10 years old, are still like 5 years old. I don't even know at this point. They're very old suits. They have the Firestorm Matrix ability, which gives them, as I explained last time with Jax Jackson, they have the Fireball on right click, the Flamethrower with ability 1, fire immunity, and controlled flight. They also, like Ronnie, have a mask toggle to hide the fire on the face. But they still have them. But they have all the same abilities as Jax, but have just slightly different active punch damage and sprint speed stats. Them being slightly faster and higher damage, and having more fall resistance. He's honestly just a straight up grade to Ronnie, but it's all honestly the visuals, due to him not having the best melee, it's really up to preference, and that's the main thing that gets changed between the two. To craft him, you need 26 Tritium, and you need the Flight, Groot 2, Rain 2, and Ronnie Raymond nodes to unlock. So you actually need the Ronnie Raymond suit to unlock Jax, which we covered him last time, but he has like the exact same stats as Jax Jackson. And to augment him, he has the punch damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and max health. Starting with fall resistance and jump height. And then punch, weapon, fall, jump height. With, as I mentioned before, him having basically the same abilities as Ronnie, but having basically better stats. There's zero differences in their abilities. They have the exact same damage for the flamethrower, fireball, and the same flight speed and stuff. He just has different stats. There's zero difference between them aside from those. Aside from his actual stats, there is zero difference. I want to reiterate this. He has zero difference in his stats, in his abilities besides his stats. The next suit to cover is Godspeed comic. He has 6 base speed levels, making him one of the fastest speedsters in base, 5 punch damage, 2 weapon damage, 1 jump height, and 4 fall resistance. Like other speedsters, he has slow motion vision and super speed. When he activates his speed, he begins to actively glow yellow, turning most of the yellow on his suit to lights, and making him crackle lightning. He also has a sort of a whitish yellow color to his trail, making it one of the brighter trails, but not super bright. He also has the same sounds as August Heart, having, I believe, the Injustice sounds. He also requires 37 titanium to craft, and where is he? There he is. And Group 2, the Speed Force, and August Heart, as he is August. It's just in the future. It's complex. Comics are complex. And he has the damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, falls, and base speed level augments. Getting jump height, fall resistance, and weapon damage. And then having all with gold titanium. With him tying with the least amount of barrels gotten from augmenting. From augmenting, I want to specify, as some suits don't augment their speed levels. I believe all suits in base do, actually, but I may be wrong on that, so... Actually, no, Savitar doesn't. So, yeah, he does not have the least amount of bursts, but he does tie with the least amount of bursts he gets from augmenting, getting only 1 extra bar, or 7 bars in total. Making him decently fast, but also not have the most damage. I messed that up entirely. Damn it. Making him pretty fast, but also only 1 extra bar from being unaugmented. But also he does augment his other stats, so still worthwhile to augment. The next suit to cover is Green Arrow. He is also an archer. He has 6 punch damage, 4.5 weapon damage, 50% drawback speed, 1 jump height, 5 fall resistance, and 15% sprint speed. He also has 3 ults. Luckily, none of them are locked behind achievements, so you can use them at any time in an iterator, but just want to mention he has 3 ults, making him also one of the higher ult amounts in base. He has, as do all archers, the horizontal bow ability, making his shots more accurate, but at a lower distance, and has the and has has a custom quiver texture, making his quiver look like this, with all of his alts having a different quiver texture, but only one of them has a different arrow texture, with all his arrows just using the base texture for the arrows. He takes 20 tritium to craft and requires the archery, group 2, and arrow nodes to unlock, making it so you have to unlock arrow to get green arrow, as they are the same person. Who would have thought? And for augments, he gets damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jumper, fall resistance, and jump height. I can't talk. Drawback speed and sprint speed. I skipped drawback speed. I'm so dumb. Causing him to have a tie with the fastest drawback speed at max augment of 75%, as most archers max out at 75%. At least when they can augment their drawback speed. Okay, everyone except for Arsenal. With his augments making him a decent bit faster and able to draw back the bow very quickly. But not the most abilities, and him just being an archer, so he doesn't have the most diverse abilities. He also has the Season 4 and Season 5 alts, which all have the same things except for the quiver, which has a new look, with the Season 4 looking like this, making it a very nice and leathery look, being near identical to the actual suit. And the Season 5 suit looking like this, with it being being identical to the Season 4 look, except it is darker, as the entire suit is darker. So, yeah. And lastly, he has the Earth X alt. This is the only alt for Green Arrow that changes the arrow texture, making it so they are instead black with a black tip, making it just more like the Earth X variant. And obviously he has a full face mask instead of just the eye mask like the normal Green Arrow, making him just a lot more, and having this custom quiver, which I really like. I really like the look of the Earth X variant. It's one of my favorite looks for the Green Arrow alts, with my second being Season 4. Happy it's kind of a tie between the base and Season 4. I don't really like the Season 5 look, but that's probably just me. It's just the look, though. Obviously, I don't care about the series. Okay, get some flag for that one. The next suit to cover is Guardian. This is one of the simpler suits. You're very much... This is one of the more simple suits, like Agent Liberty, where he only has one ability, and it's one of the more basic abilities, being the retractable shield. He also has 5.5 punch damage, 2.5 weapon damage, 0.5 jump height, and 4 fall resistance, with the shield looking like this for base. Obviously, just like normal, you left click to block, or right click to block, and the shield, when it's toggled, actually increases your punch damage from 5.5 to, let me double check, from 5.5 to 6.5. Basically just giving a small increase in the damage, but really the main use of it is to block damage, with it having 70 health, so it takes 70 hits to actually break it. With the shield being able to block 70 hits, so that did a lot of damage to the shield, but once it breaks, obviously I have to wait for it to recharge again. And obviously it can only block from the front, as always, so if he punches me on the side, I don't block anything, but if I aim to the front, then obviously I block. With also, if he melee attacks me, then it actually knocks me back, unlike if he were to repulsor blast like it was before, where it doesn't. To craft him, he takes third. Oh, I looped through this entire data drive. Let me grab that and switch it out. To craft him, he takes 19 tritium and the defense 1, group 2, and melee 1 nodes, same as Crossbones, making him just a little bit cheaper than him, but still pretty cheap. And he can augment his. Let me grab all these. I should also grab more of these between Guardian and the next one. With him having nothing in iron, but then having fall resistance, punch damage, and damage reduction. Then having damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and sprint speed. Then damage reduction maxing, punch damage maxing. And the last 4 maxing with 4-star. Making him pretty mobile, but also and somewhat good for melee, but not the strongest, and only having the shield is not the best ability. He also has the Earth X ult, which is just like the Earth X suit, and the shield actually looks like the American flag, just like it did in the Earth X episode. Or Crisis on Earth X. Making him look a decent bit different than his normal counterpart, but still looking pretty bland. But definitely just a lot more unique. The next suit to show is Obsidian. This is one of the more unique suits since all of his abilities are unique to him. Except for the shadow form, as Anti-Monitor also has it. But it's kind of forgettable that he has it. I feel like it's more memorable on Obsidian, in my opinion. I kind of forget he has it all the time. Anyway, so he has 5 punch damage, 3 weapon damage, 1 jump height, 4 fall resistance, 10% sprint speed, and Umbra Kinesis. So he has, as I mentioned, the shadow form ability, turning him into a shadow. Which, if I turn on hitboxes, makes his hitbox tiny. Even if I turn off particles, you can't even see it, as you physically cannot punch a Obsidian in shadow form. Instead, only explosions can hurt them. It also gives him the flight ability, which is actually what controlled flight used to be before Fisk changed it over to controlled flight a few versions ago, which was still like a year ago, which acts similar to creative flight, except you were constantly going down. So you hold space to go up, shift to go down, but instead of creative flight, you're constantly going down. The shadow form also only lasts for like 30-ish seconds, but recharges pretty quickly, allowing it for it to be a pretty good mobility tool. It also, like creative mode, if you hold S, it just goes backwards. It does not allow you to go up by holding W or anything like that. It acts just like creative mode flight. even with you being able to sprint during it, but not having an animation, instead just increasing your speed. The next ability he has is the Shadow Chain. The Shadow Chain is really just telekinesis, which he only shares with the monitor, I believe. So, the only other character who has telekinesis in base, as far as I remember, is the monitor. Why do you have a glaive? Can you put that away? Thank you. So, it also acts a lot like the Tentacle Grab, where as you hold the ability, which it is a hold ability, you have to hold the button, unlike the Shadow Form stuff, it holds the player, and if you scroll, it can push them away or towards you. Except, unlike those, you can't break out of it by attacking it. You are the one fully in control. Even if they attack you directly, it doesn't drop them unless you let go of the button, allowing you to have full control over them, and also allowing you to just throw them into the ground to deal electric force damage. Making it so he's able to control a fight pretty well with the Shadow Chain and the Shadow Form, making it so he's pretty hard to attack. So he's able to, even if like Bush runs at me now, like if he just runs at me with the glaive, I'm able to pretty easily dodge him and control him, and then be able to attack him by bringing him close and so on, allowing for him to have a lot of combo potential, but obviously not having the most damage due to him only having 5 punch damage by base. But he's still good enough to be pretty effective with controlling fights and stuff. And another tool he has to control a fight and like what's going on in it. Can you not splash me with the weakness, please? Thank you. Don't you dare. The final tool he has, which is the ability he only has. The other two he technically shares with another suit, but the Shadow Chain looks different, and the Shadow Form is kind of forgettable on Anti-Monitor. I forget he has it all the time. But the only ability completely unique to him is the Shadow Dome. Let me make sure that the game rule is set correctly. So after roughly 2 seconds or so, it creates the Shadow Dome, which makes it so that all light in an area is set to 0, except for light blocks like glowstone, fabricators, and so on. Essentially, cutting the lights in an entire area, with the radius being roughly 15 blocks in all directions, and it being a perfect circle. And even if you set it to night, it gets even darker. And from the outside, it looks like this, making it a pitch black area and making it so you physically cannot see what's going on inside. But once you're inside, you can't see what's going on outside, making it a pretty fair ability. Also, you were actually able to blend into the Shadow Dome pretty well, especially if you have moody brightness. You basically cannot see the Obsidian, unless if they go to a light block. If they fly even somewhat with Shadow Form, you cannot see them. Although the same applies to Anti-Monitor if you use his Shadow Form. But he doesn't have access to the dome, making it unique. Making it so Obsidian is able to pretty easily cloak both his movements, some teammates' movements, control enemies' attacks, control when he gets attacked, and control their movements with the Shadow Chain, making him a pretty good suit for PvP, but lacking in damage due to him having such low punch damage compared to his abilities. But with all of his unique abilities, it makes it so he's pretty strong even without any range. And to craft him, it requires 28 Tritium and the Group 2, object manipulation and traversal 2 abilities. With the only other suits that have object manipulation being Batman, I should naturally stop talking right the fuck now. Why am I over-explaining that stuff? That's gonna be explained in the future stuff. Fuck! And for augments, let me just refill these. I'll just delete the old ones. For his augments, he has... Which also, I forgot to mention this, he actually cannot shadow chain while he has an item in his hands. He can still shadow dome or shadow form, but he just can't use the chain. Due to when you shadow chain, it's actually using the aim function as well. And that is how you actually see the hand raising when you're using shadow chain. It's using the aim function. And the augments he has is damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and sprint speed. Starting with fall resistance, and having all but jump height. Then has fall. Maxing out his sprint speed, fall distance, jump height, and damage reduction at titanium, or vibranium, sorry, I can't talk. And finally finishing his punch damage at 9 and weapon damage at 5. Making him deal actually somewhat decent punch damage, but also it does take 4 augments to get there, and also you have to deal with that low punch damage until you can augment, which can be annoying. The next suit to show off is Prometheus. This is, I believe, the final archer of the mod. So from here on out, there will be no more archers, if I remember correctly. I double check. Sure. Yeah. This is the final archer of the mod. Ending off with Prometheus. He has, as always, archery. He also has 6 punch damage, 5 weapon damage, 55% bow drawback speed, 1 jump height, 5 fall resistance, and 15% sprint speed. He also has the Chocoto, which acts just like the scimitar and the vanilla swords with Dark Archer and Vanilla. With you blocking with right click, blocking most damage incoming, and attacking with right click. It has no really special attributes, it's just a sword. With him having the Chocoto, which acts just like just like the vanilla swords, with 6.5 damage, and with that obviously stacking with the weapon damage, making him pretty good with melee. He also has bow horizontal, obviously, from the archery ability, which just makes his shots more accurate. He also has a black arrow, which actually is different than the Earth X green arrow one, since that one actually has a black tip, while this one is just a black feather, the tip being the same as base. He also has an ability that only he uses in base. Well, it's not an ability he uses only, but it's a item. He has the throwing stars, which no other suit in base uses. This is the only equipment he has, but it's still very useful. Which acts just like any other equipment, where when you have it active, you simply right click to throw it, and it deals some decent damage. However, due to it being a shuriken, it acts different with archers. With the throwing star acting very unique. It's also a property shared with the Batarangs with Batman, who will be covered in the Tier 6 episode, where when you are holding the bow horizontally, if you get hit by a throwing star or Batarang, it actually snaps the string, making it so you physically can't draw back the bow unless if you repair it. and having that unique item texture. But in the model, it's just removed the strings. It's a very minor change. And it only being repairable with a string. So if I grab string, then you simply just put it in the crafting table with the string, and it instantly repairs it, allowing you to draw back the bow again. But without it fixed, but with it broken, it obviously can't be drawn back. But that only can happen when you're holding it horizontally. So if he's holding it vertically, then it doesn't break. But the moment that he holds it horizontally, then it breaks and plays that sound, making him unable to draw his bow again. With him being able to fix it again with the string and have it repaired. With it being a pretty easy thing to fix if you have string, but it is just another variable that archers have to worry about compared to just the damage reduction, the arrow damage, and all that. To craft, he takes 24 tritium and requires the archery, group 2, melee 2, since he has the Chocoto, and green arrow suit, making him the first and one of only, I believe, 2 suits that require 2 other suits before he can be unlocked, with him being green arrow and arrow. I'm sure you can see what the other one is, but we'll cover that next time. And by next time, I mean at tier 10. And in his augments, he gets damage reduction, punch damage, jump height, fall resistance, bow drawback speed, and sprint speed. First fall resist, then all the punch damage, and sprint speed, sorry. Then all but sprint speed. Then getting all. Maxing his punch damage at vibranium, or jump height at vibranium, sorry. Then maxing the rest at Dwarf Star. With him being in a 3-way tie for the most bow drawback speed at 75%. As all archers, except for Arsenal, can get 75% drawback speed. Arsenal is the only one that can't because he can't augment his drawback speed. With him being one of the strongest archers due to his damage, punch damage, his tier, his weapon damage, all that. But also, and his throwing stars. But also the other archers do have their place, such as Green Arrow having more. No, he's just the best archer. He just had the best stats. I can't talk. He also has an alt, the Earth X variant, which just makes his suit more green and adds the regime. Is it the regime? It adds the symbol they have on their shoulder. It keeps the exact same arrow. It just makes him a tint of green and have the logo on his wrist. Oh, well, it also does change his quiver texture, but it just makes it more green, since this suit is a lot of green. The next suit to cover is the Reverse Flash. He has 5 base speed levels, 5 punch damage, 0.5 weapon damage, 1 jump height, and 4 fall resistance. He also has slow motion vision, which apparently Bush is somewhere around, so I can't show. Making it so he has a red trail and negative speed force sound effects, making him the only suit that has these sounds. I don't personally like the sounds that much, but that's voice sounds. He also has a unique mask toggle. It makes him vibrate and makes his eyes glow, which they are light textures, so even if it's nighttime and I have moody brightness, they are perfectly visible. It also just makes it more threatening, especially if you see it running at you. Making him just a very unique visually suit. But also not the strongest speedster, since he only has 5 punch damage and 5 bars. The mask toggle also plays a constant sound. It also has a startup sound and stop sound. Well, not a stop sound, sorry, but it does have that startup sound. With it also changing the speedster sounds while you have it vibrating. So during that, then when you vibrate, it just sounds a little more reverberated, more like reverb, if that makes sense. It totally does, I can't talk. Just gives it a little bit more reverb than it had before. May it sound like it's more like steps when it isn't. It also causes the sprint sound to have a reverb. But then when I turn off, it's slightly less reverb. But it's not super noticeable. He takes 36 to tritium to craft, and requires the Group 2, Speed Force, and Barry Allen alt nodes to unlock, who we'll be covering later in the video. For his augments, he doesn't have many. He just had the basic speedster ones of damage reduction, punch damage, jump height, fall resistance, speed levels, and step height. Starting with step height, obviously. Then getting speed levels, fall resistance, jump height, and damage reduction. Step height, speed levels. Maxing his punch damage and jump height. Then maxing his damage reduction, and finally maxing out his fall resistance, speed levels, and step height. Making him pretty mobile, having 7 bars and some decent punch damage with 6 damage, but not having the most. Although for a speedster with their increased attack speed, it's pretty good. The attack speed and the movement speed is very strong. Also, yeah, you can just step up an entire, 3 blocks. 2, actually. I just can't. I just keep running over multiple. He also has an alt, the Earth X alt. You're probably noticing there's a decent few Earth X alts. This has all the same abilities, like the sprint, the same bar, the same lightning texture, the same slow-mo sound and stuff, and having the mask toggle again. Except you can actually see the red eyes at all time, it's just not glowing. Because it's not a light texture. Also, you may be noticing, besides this guy, there's only alts left. There's only speedsters left. Yeah, this is the tier that has the most speedsters and archers. So, yeah, it's a bit. Actually, this is tied with the most archers for tier 4. Anyway. So he had the exact same abilities, just base and same visuals other than the ult. But his layer 2 is actually the same as the base. It's just his face and logo that change between the two. Literally, if you look at them from the back, they are the exact same. The next suit to cover is Señor Cactus. This is actually an original character by Fisk, back from like the original versions of the mod. I don't know when it was added, but it's pretty old. It's a pretty old suit. This one has all unique abilities. So firstly, he has the point, which does nothing. In fact, it removes an ability, which I'll be showing in a minute. But it does add a new thing. If you have a cactus block around, then it actually, when you right-click, spawns in a cactus mob. This is a unique mob. This is a custom mob by Fisk. It has 5 health per block at a max of 15 for 3 blocks. Adding any more than that does nothing but make it look visually more funny. But they just basically act like dogs, where if you attack a mob or player, or they attack you, they attack them. So if Bush just punches me, then it should... Never mind, it's not working like that. What the... Oh, you're in creative. You need to be survival. So if I spawn it and he attacks me, it acts just like a dog and just attacks him. I kill it. Which then, when they die, they actually split into their own independent blocks. With that being the only change when you add more blocks, is it spawns in more. They will also attack, I believe they will also attack me if I attack them. I double check. Without killing them. Never mind, they just go straight for him. Apparently, if you attack them, they just go for any player near you. Which is funny. And obviously, as I add more, the health stays the same. But if I kill it... Oh, it actually spawns less cactus. Never mind. And so that is the point ability. The next ability he has, as I was just showing, is the cactus throw, or the spike throw. Basically, when you right-click, it throws out a bunch of cactus spikes, dealing damage to anything it hits. Let me just go to... Which you may not have noticed, but as you throw out cactuses, as you throw out spikes, it actually consumes hunger. It's hard to show when I just give myself saturation, but just give it a minute. The spike throw taking hunger as you do it. So as you can see, I'm burning through a lot more hunger as I do this. And when you're down 4.5 hunger shanks, you actually can't do the ability anymore, no matter how much I click. You physically can't do the spike throw. Same with the other ability, the spike burst, which throws cactus spikes all around you in a 360-degree area, with it dealing a bunch of damage. Why do you have it? Whatever. With also, as you look up or down vertically, the cacti, more so go in that direction. They are very much based on the vertical direction you look in. And again, this takes hunger to use, just like before. But also, there is no hit cooldown for any of the cactus spikes. So if I were to stand inside of Bush here, and I hit him, then he would take a lot of damage. A lot more than normal, since normally it does nothing. But when he's basically on top of me, he takes a lot more. But then if he takes off the suit, I should have done that for 1 second. Let me clear. So if I'm now right inside of him, he dies instantly. but you need to be directly on top of an enemy for it to do that. Any further, and it only does some middling damage. But if I'm right above or below it, it can one-shot. It can even, I believe, 3-shot an iron golem. So if I summon a villager golem, then I believe I can... Yeah, it does like 70 damage. 80 damage. Why would you do that? Causing it to deal a lot of damage, but also it does take a lot of hunger. Causing it to be a high-risk, high-reward style thing. But obviously you can get around the weaknesses of the spike, burst, and throw by just having hunger, having food. Some details with the skin. Firstly, you can actually see the player's skin, since the collar of the thing actually goes all the way down to halfway down the player's skin or chest. Sorry. Meanwhile, most other suits usually cover up the chest. Not all, but most do. Additionally, the sombrero on top is actually a full-on unique model that no other suit uses. With the model being something not a lot of suits use in Fiskheroes. And obviously it's tied to the mask. With the mask giving you the entire mask. You can't have the hat without the mask. To craft him, it takes 24 titanium and 10 cactus blocks, and he requires the defense 1, group 2, range 2, and regeneration 2 nodes. As there's one thing I forgot actually. Señor Cactus actually has a unique thing when he is wet, that being in rain or actual water. So if I set the weather, if I just walk into the fountain right here, then I go from tier 5 to tier 2. But I also gain 300. I change from 200% regeneration by default to 500%. With him having the most regeneration of any suit in base, but only when he's in water of some sort. And obviously him still needing a lot of food, since that does not give him saturation, it just increases his regen. He also has Cactus immunity, which no suit in base does Cactus damage except for Señor Cactus, with the Spike Burst and the Spike Burst, the Spike Throw and the Spike Burst dealing Cactus damage. And the Cactus entity, I believe, deals Cactus damage, but that's only the entity that only spawns from Señor Cactus. No thing in base. No one else in base spawns it. So he's only immune to himself. He also, another thing I completely forgot to mention, he does thorns. So if Bush punches me, then he takes damage, causing him to just take damage when he hits me, with it acting exactly like the Thorns enchant. And also, I can still punch back, allowing me to still deal a ton of damage to him. Allowing him to deal just a lot of damage even if he's not actively attacking. And for his augments, he has damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and sprint speed. Obviously starting with fall resistance, because that's the most common thing. Can you not be running right behind me, dude? I'm very much still fucking recording. Sprint speed, jump height, and fall resistance, and punch damage and damage reduction being the next things to augment. With the damage reduction changing the percentage it gives based on the tier if you're in water. Yeah. It's consistent throughout the tiers itself, but it does change due to damage reduction changing how much it increases depending on the tier. The maximum his jump height, his punch damage, and his damage reduction at Vibranium, and the final 3 at Dwarf Star. Making him a pretty mobile and strong suit, but also he has like no mobility, and is only really saved by his range. And needing hunger for all of his abilities can be very annoying. He also has one ult, Señor Cactus. This can be gotten through the Fisk Dream achievement, which, as explained with Deadpool, needs you to unlock every suit in the Fabricator, including hero packs. It is not just base mod for that achievement. That is, I believe, the only achievement that includes the hero pack suits as well. With the only other times that hero pack suits are included is when the hero packs add alts that require achievements. The next suit is Barry Allen, the Flash. Which, fun fact, this was the first ever suit added to the mod. It's also why, like I mentioned in the Chronos section, it's also the reason why he is one of the only other suits to get a video exclusively for him. Because it was the first version of the mod, and a very experimental version, with them just making it function. With this now being the current version, he has 4 base speed levels, 4.5 punch damage, 1 jump height, and 4 fall resistance. The amount of speed levels he has actually been relatively consistent since the initial release of the mod. Although I don't remember if the speed of speed levels changed or not, but either way, the amount of bars he has stayed the same. Making him pretty fast and having slow motion vision as always, and having this orange lightning, which he shares with Jay Garrick and Hunter Zolomon. He only shares it with the other Flashes. He also has a mask toggle, as I showed earlier on accident, with him having the same exact mask toggle as Kid Flash. He also He's also been one of the more recent suits to get a dedicated update too. Although it wasn't entirely dedicated update since it was for all speedsters, which added the new running, well not new, but it had the running animations and all the sounds. As beforehand, it just was this, no matter what. Even if you were sprinting, you just had the vanilla running animation. Speedsters looked terrible before the speedster update. In fact, here's some footage of that now. It wasn't good. To craft him, you need 35 Tetridium, and you need the Group 2 and Speed Force ability nodes to unlock him. And for his augments, we've run through this like 8 times now, but still. He has damage reduction, punch damage, jump height, fall resistance, base speed levels, and step height. The most basic speedster things of all. You can see it's the baseline for literally every suit in the mod. With him being one of the only speedsters to not augment his weapon damage, but also he doesn't really need it. He's not meant to be using the weapon. He also, like I mentioned in the last video, is one of the only speedsters to augment his speed levels 3 times. The only other speedsters that do that are Trajectory and Hunter Zolomon. But Trajectory is held back by the speed disintegration, and Hunter only gets up to 6 bars. Barry gets up to 7, making him tied for the second fastest speedster in the base mod. with the only one faster than him being Savitar. With him obviously tying with Godspeed, Reverse Flash. I think so. We'll double check that when we get to his section. And that's it. With him only being slower than Savitar due to his scale. But we'll cover Savitar in the Tier 7 video. He also has, I believe, the second most ults out of any suit. I may be wrong, though. Cap might have more. Cap Steve, I mean. But, either way. So he has, firstly, the... Oh, I'm lag. Frame drops. There it goes. Sorry. He has the Season 1 ult, which just has the red, just had the red emblem. There's no other changes for it between the Season 1 and 2 ults. And all the ults except for one have the mask toggle, which acts the same as the base. And as I mentioned before, he had the same... The Season 1 suit looked the same as the Season 2 suit, except for the white emblem. Which just... It's just the red... Just the white emblem for the Season 2. It's really the same as the Season 1 suit. The next suit is the Earth X variant, which is actually the same guy, which is actually the same berry, if anyone's watched CW. It's very confusing. Chris on Earth X is confusing. Not the all of CW is confusing. Anyway, this again had the mask toggle, acting the same, and has the same trail and the same sounds and all that. And the final one is the test suit. This is the only berry ult locked behind an achievement. It requires the Run Berry Run achievement, which... Let me double check the achievement. Which, as you can guess, the name is a reference to the Run Berry Run line. And the achievement requires you to have 20 speed bars. You might think, oh wait, you can't do that because he only went to 7. Well, no, actually, because there is an external item. There's 2 external items in the mod that allow you to have more speed levels. Hang on. So, the first item is Velocity 9, which, when you drink it, let me go create so I can keep drinking more. When you drink it, you gain 3 temporary speed bars, allowing you to just increase your speed bar amount up to the 20 required to get the suit. So now I would get the achievement and be able to unlock the suit if I didn't have it already. Also making you a extremely fast suit and lagging our server because we don't have the best server host. But this is one of the many ways to unlock it. Unfortunately though, the Velocity 9 effect cannot be cleared by any means, not even slash effect clear. Can't even clear yourself. Granted, that applies to all the Fisk tag things, all the Fiskheroes effects, but for Velocity 9 it's especially bad as once this runs out. One downside of the Velocity 9 effect is, you probably noticed it, but it overrides the speed trail of any suit. Although there's one bonus to it, and that applies even without winning Speedster. But once it runs out, you get the Speed Sickness effect, which, depending on the level of the Velocity 9, lowers the amount of bars you have. So, for example, this Max Augment Berry with 7 only has 1 bar because I had Speed Sickness 6. But if I have one that has less than that, I physically can't activate my speed. It is completely blocked off due to me not having enough speed levels to run. And this applies to every speedster, whether it be Reverse Flash, whether it be Godspeed, even someone who doesn't have the Speed Force ability like Trajectory, or Shazam, who has speed levels. who we'll also be covering in the tier 9 video, but either way, he physically can't activate his speed because I have the speed sickness effect. And the only way to get rid of speed sickness is to either drink another Velocity 9, but the effect is for less time than it was before, but you get another level in it, allowing you to go even faster than before, but also, once this runs out, you'll notice I physically do not have any bars. So I physically just cannot activate my speed once this runs out. Doesn't matter what I do. The only real bonus to Velocity 9 is that it can be applied without wearing a speedster. So you can use this with any suit on. But it definitely neuters a lot of the speedster suits. And the only other way to get rid of the speed sickness effect is to die. Those are the only two ways to get rid of it. Not even milk works. Nothing gets rid of the effect except for dying or drinking another Velocity 9. However, as I had mentioned before, that's not the only way to get rid of the speed, to get the 20 bars needed for the achievement. There's another one. The Cosmic Treadmill, which is basically a little mini game where once you get on it, if you tap A and D and time when the bar goes over to the thing, then once that fills, you gain 1 speed XP, maxing out at 30 speed XP. I'm not going to play the whole thing because that takes a while, but if I /speed XP, which is a command you can do, 1L, then you'll notice I have an additional speed level that does not act like Velocity 9. It acts independently of it, allowing you to have even more speed to do enough work. You just need to work to get that speed XP. So the Velocity 9 is a cheaper way, is a more short-term way to get the 20 speed levels for Barry, for the test suit Barry. Or you can have the or you can just do the easy way out, or you can do the long way out that also gives you a long-term reward with the Cosmic Treadmill. But as you saw, it takes a while to do. With, as I said before, it maxing out at 30 levels. So for Barry, that maxes at 34 bars. But also the speed X. But even if I add like another 30 levels, I don't get any more speed XP. So I am quite literally capped out at 34 bars with Barry. Well, 37 with Max Augment, but still. What other speedsters can have different speed levels depending on how many augments or base speed levels they have. With also the details with the suit that I completely forgot to mention, but I had to explain the achievement to unlock it first, is the trail actually changes, and so do the sounds. The trail becomes a blur trail, with this being the only suit in base that uses, with this and Shazam being the only suits in base that use this kind of trail, where it basically just copies the player behind themselves, and has them copy the exact animations. It only copies the speedster running animation, unfortunately, but it's still able to copy animations. It doesn't even copy that. It doesn't copy any animations. It's really annoying that it doesn't do that. I'd really like it to. Fisk, please. But it's a very simple visual effect, but it's a nice one. The lightning also changes to this red, like, semi-see-through one, which is, I believe, just meant to be more representative of the blur that Barry is at the moment. Hence why they also have the blur figures. Additionally, the sounds are very different, with these being personally my favorite speech sounds in bass. With it sounding a lot like wind is just flooding through your ears, instead of the classic lightning sounds that all the other speedsters have. There's also a sound unique to Testberry, making it somewhat limited on who has it, but it's a very nice sound, so I don't really complain. And the next suit to show is Garrick. He has the exact same stats as base berry. Like, if I look at this berry, they have the exact same stats. They are just carbon copies of each other, which is unfortunate in my opinion, but he has technically unique sounds. Hunter's Element technically also have the same sounds, but they are labeled as J in the files, so I'm just gonna say they're J sounds. Besides, Hunter is trying to copy J, so I don't care. Giving him completely unique sounds and just a different feel than Barry. To craft him, it requires 34 Tritium and the Group 2 and Speed Force nodes, making him only 1 Tritium cheaper than Barry. And yet, if you augment him, then at max augment, so give me a second. He only gets up to 5 speed bars, tying him for the least amount of bar augments for speed levels. But he also has less step height, and also has less jump height, less punch damage, less damage reduction, less fall distance. He is just a worse berry when it comes to augmenting. The only difference is the visuals. He also has no mask toggle in base. He is just straight up worse. There's zero, functional reason to use J over Barry. When, if I look at Barry at max augment, they are just straight up weaker. With 5.2 bars, he has 0 stats over Barry. He just has worse or equal. He's only worse or equal than Barry, which is really sad to me. I feel like Jay deserves to have something over Barry, but he's still a good suit. He's still a speedster. He has the punch damage. He has the punch speed. He has the movement speed. He has all that. He's still a strong suit. It's just a little limited. He also has an alt, the Earth 90 alt, Jay Garrick, from the I believe the 90s show. Was it the 90s? I don't fully remember. The old Flash show, which also got a cameo in CW, with him having the mask toggle that Barry Allen and Kid Flash have. With this being, as far as if I remember correctly, the only suit in base that has the base suit not have a mask toggle, but has an alt have a mask toggle, making that at least unique. But I feel like it's not worth it compared to the stats. He also has the same sounds and I believe the same trail as base J. Wait, that might have to be a different trail. Oh yeah, no, that he has a slightly more red trail, just making it a little more red, but other than that, he is the exact same as the base J, other than the mask toggle. The next suit is the Rival, the most forgettable speedster in all of CW. The Rival has 5 base speed levels, 4.5 punch damage, 1 weapon damage, 1 jump height, and 4 fall resistance. Yeah, so he also has a red trail, just like, and I think he has the same sounds as Reverse Flash. I think they might be inverted. Yeah, it has inverted sounds to J. Garrick, that's wonky. Just making it so that the stop sound is his go sound and his go sound is his stop sound. Other than that, he is really very similar to Jake to Reverse Flash, but he also has no mask toggle. So even if I press it, he has none. He also has slow vision, as always, just so that speedsters at high levels can just manage where they're going. To craft him, it requires 36 Tetridium and needs Group 2, Speed Force, and Kid Flash. Since he is Kid Flashes. And Flashpoint. For his augments, he gets damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resist, and step and base speed levels. Nothing in iron. These 3 in gold. And everything gold titanium mounts. Maxing his punch damage at 5.5. And his jump height at 2. And getting 6 speed levels, 7 fall resistance, 1.5 weapon damage, and 1.467% damage reduction. I should stop talking because those 2 are also Dwarf Star. I'm so smart at talking. To maxing his damage reduction and fall resistance, making him roughly the same as Kid Flash, but basically just slightly, I think, faster and more damage. But other than that, he is the same. He is basically a combination of Reverse Flash and Kid Flash, making him certainly very usable, but still boring. Granted, all spaces are boring compared to each other. The final suit to show today is Zoom. He has 6 base speed levels, 5 punch damage, 1.5 weapon damage, 1 jump height, and 4 fall resistance. So he has some of the highest, he had like the second highest base speed levels out of any suit when unaugmented. He also has the flickering effect that the comic suits have at all, and that Trajectory has at all times, with no way to turn it off, causing it to get a little annoying when just wearing the suit for normal gameplay, or when trying to talk, which is why I'm going to turn it down. But not the worst. There's certainly more annoying sounds like spamming Firestorm fireballs. He has the blue trail that the Velocity 9 effect gives, with it being the exact same. He also has a unique sound. With no other suit having this, if I remember correctly, because I believe Trajectory has a different sound than Zoom. He also, to craft him, I put the data drive since they only have 8 storage. You require 37 Tetridium to craft, and need Group 2, Speed Force, and Hunter Zolomon to unlock him. Causing him to be a bit annoying to unlock, but not the worst. Especially for the speed. And for his augments, he has damage reduction, punch damage, weapon damage, jump height, fall resistance, and speed levels. With none in iron, these 3 in gold. All but speed levels in gold titanium. And the final 4 in vibranium. Maxing his weapon damage, and maxing the final 3 with Dwarf Star. Giving him 7 base speed levels and some decent punch damage. But also not being fastest just because Savitar is the fastest. But still making him very fast and having those unique sounds. Although I will say the constant lightning flickering does get pretty annoying, but it does worse sounds. He has 4 ults. I'm actually going to switch these two. First is the concept zoom ult. I'm not entirely sure where this is from, but still. Firstly, the first difference you might notice is the eyes actually don't have their pupils, but firstly, I've got more lightning on me, like more lightning crackling off of me. And then, when I activate my speed, it activates vibration, which is the same vibration that Reverse Flash uses. It also has the same sounds as base zoom, but they have that reverb that the vibration adds to all sounds, causing to just have that little bit more flavor to it. The next ult is the Black Flash ult. This one has no lightning flickering, thankfully. And it also has some of the more unique sounds from Zoom. Firstly, it has a different trail with this being red, the same as Reverse Flash and Rival and them. But also, you might have just heard, he has a different startup sound, with it sounding a lot more like to me it sounds sort of like mechanical or like something. It's hard to explain, but also it has a different loop sound, only slightly different, but still different. And lastly, he has a different stop sound. He actually has multiple stop sounds. It's just they have a random chance of playing. That being a growl, with him growling when you stop, since he is like a zombie thing. So, if I run and I stop, that time it didn't play a growl, but if I do it again, none again. But that time I'm having like a deep bellowing growl. And I'm having a few more that I'm just getting unlucky with, but he has a decent few stop sounds, making him pretty unique. And the final ult today is the cute ult, or the pink ult. I don't know why I thought it was the cute ult. Oh yeah, because Star Labs Feaster in Fiskheroes. Sorry. The pink ult, it requires the Cure achievement, which is gotten when you drink Velocity 9 when you have the speed sickness effect. Basically curing yourself of the speed sickness, but also not really, because that effect is like the worst one in the mod. With this one having a flicker, but this one having a different sounding flicker, which I honestly kind of like the sound of it. Having slow motion vision. And lastly, it has a meme run sound. This is a meme ult. There's nothing to say about it. It's just a meme. Yeah, it has a meme run. With the stop sound, with the sprint sound, it not really having a sprint sound. It just instantly going into the constant run sound. Just to know, I had that little like pling at the start. It's just a little hard to notice sometimes. It also has the xylophone ending with when you sprint and it stops. It ends with that xylophone. This is very much just a meme suit, but there's more annoying memes, honestly. This one's just like a goofy run. That's it, really. And that is the end of Overexplaining Tier 5. This video is going to be like 2 hours long, so yeah, thank you for watching. This is going to be the longest part of the entire series, so the next time will be a lot shorter with Tier 6, since, go look up Tier 6, there's a lot less suits, thankfully. So I won't be here, so this will be the longest video in the series, and if I do a mega compilation of all the vids, this will be the longest section, by a long shot. But, either way, that's the end of Overexplaining Tier 5, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!